How's it going, you lot? It's just a Sunday evening at the moment. I'm sort of having a bit of a tidy up from earlier on. I've got this P10 Alpha. Well, I was going to say I got it back to running, but I didn't really. Determined that that video actually went live earlier on today, and I haven't read all the comments. I read some earlier on. We went to a pantomime this afternoon. We go to the pantomime, so we go to the circuses every year. I love to support the circus that goes around the countries. It goes around Europe, actually, I think. Love to support that. We go to circuses every year. Any circus which is in town, we go to it. Sometimes more than once. And pantomimes in the theatres, we make sure we go to them. Because, listen, some of them people, them actors and actresses, or whatever they're called in a theatre pantomime, I suppose they're just actors and actresses. Performers. Anyway, some of them are really good, and they put in a lot of effort. And it breaks my heart when the theatre isn't rammed packed full. Same for the circus. We went to the circus a couple of times, and there was us and a few other people. And there's these really good acts from around different countries and everywhere, putting on a really good performance. And there's only a few of us, and we're going, "Way," clapping, and there's only a few of us. The last time we went to the circus in October, and it was quite full, which I was really pleased about. Same for the theatre. Been to the theatre a few times to watch the pantomimes, and all different types. This one was Sleeping Beauty, and it was relatively full, which I was really pleased about. There's nothing worse than going to a theatre when these people are putting on the best performance they can do for you, and it's less than half full. Anyway, went off a little bit on a bit of a tangent there, didn't I? So earlier on today, went out this morning, had a bit of a problem with this P10, and I've got it sorted out now. I think some of you, I've read some of the comments. Some of you are saying that that steering servo, is kaput. I disagree. I do disagree with that. I'm not disagreeing that it's probably a little bit unwell, but I think it's okay because when it works, it sounds good. It doesn't make humming sounds. It doesn't twitch. When it works, it's strong. When it turns strong, it's not weak in any way. It doesn't smell funny. Sometimes when a servo goes, it can smell of electrical burning. It seems fine when it works. And I listen. The problem is that I don't let on as much as I know a lot of the time. This battery's no good. We worked that out. This battery, I had my suspicions about to start with anyway, purely because it's been sitting around. Batteries need to be used. They need to be charged, discharged, charged, discharged. They need to be actually put a load on them. Do you know what I mean? If they're not, if they sit around, particularly in cold weather, hot weather, heat kills batteries. Cold doesn't kill batteries. It makes them perform badly, but it doesn't kill them necessarily unless it's extreme cold. But heat kills batteries, and this has sat in some heat, I tell you that, even though it's quite new. It's about a year old. So I did have my suspicions on it, but it seemed to be all okay, but it's not okay. This one got the servo going. So anyway, that's not what I want to talk to you about. What I want to talk to you about, as I'm tidying up after, because as I say, we went out to the pantomime, so I didn't have a chance to tidy up the bench after the shenanigans earlier on. And I'm thinking about what I was talking about earlier, and I'm in the process of firing a few emails. I'm writing to a few of the local schools to see what they think about getting, not necessarily RC, like radio controlled, as the hobby. I'm not necessarily talking about that being taught in schools, but I really think that it would be very beneficial and easy, relatively easy, to teach Nitro in schools. And I've talked a little bit about it in the video that went out. Well, you won't see this video today, but as I'm filming this, the video of this went out this afternoon, about 3 o'clock I think it was. And I spoke at the end of that briefly about what I think about teaching Nitro in schools, and I think it'll be massively beneficial to the children and to society. Do you know what I mean? Because, speaking from a school's point of view, listen, all right, they'll have to find a teacher that has a knowledge on, nitro engines and nitro cars as well. But that shouldn't be too difficult, because if they've got teachers that, know that teach design, and I mean, there's also a science element as well, right? So they can, in science, they can learn about the fuels. There can be so much they can learn. The flashpoints, what goes into making nitro fuel, what goes into testing, development, all that stuff, how it works, why it works. And then not only what makes the nitro fuel, what makes those ingredients. What are those ingredients made up from? There's got to be an element of at least a year's worth of learning in that, surely. And then they can go into the, whatever they want to call the lesson, where they would learn about the engines. I don't know whether it be, I don't know what they call really lessons these days. I mean, when I was a kid, when I was in senior school, we didn't learn that, but we done soldering and welding, and in college we called it bench fitting, which is making stuff on a bench by hand. They're all gone. I made a load of stuff by hand, tools. I made my own tools, spanners, things like that. But in school we made stuff out of plastic, ABS plastic. ABS, I'm not sure. But I made stuff out of plastic to file it and do this stuff, and anyway. We called that design and technology, but I don't really know what they would call the lesson when they would do engines. Perhaps they would invent a whole new lesson and call it mechanics, or I don't know, but that's for them to decide. But they could put what they've learned in science about the fuels into practice in that lesson as well. And I really don't think it'll be, I mean, obviously it's probably quite difficult to fire off a new lesson. There's probably some steps and hoops which schools have to go through, to prove. I don't think a school can just, I've got to find all this stuff out. I mean, I've already fired one email across, quite extensive email, across to a local senior school to see what the head teacher there thought about it. But I'm assuming there must be some hoops that they have to prove to some kind of school board, Ofsted or whatever, about why this needs to be taught in lessons. Obviously they can't just decide off their own back, we're going to teach this now. Probably has to go through all kinds of things and be vetted. But for a school, or for the head teacher, or someone who knows what they're doing, I wouldn't think that would be quite difficult. Do you know what I mean? They'd have to buy a load of cars, they'd have to get a teacher, but any teacher who's mechanically minded, who probably teaches design and technology, for example, or something like that, they could get one of these and get their head around it fairly quick. If they would know how an engine works anyway, because that would be their field. They would be mechanically minded. There would be a physical, what do you call them? What do you call a teacher? If you are a teacher, or if you're in a school doing something, please comment with if you've got information on what I'm trying to say, because I don't really know what things are called really. But a teacher who teaches that, they would, they could get an understanding of this, and I reckon they could teach fairly easy. Do you know what I mean? Either that, or they'd have to employ another teacher with this field in their skill set. But because they're so easy, I think it'd be a hit. But I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, well, it's difficult to get children to learn anything, because the majority of children don't want to actually learn anything useful. They just want to have fun with their friends, chat and be children, which is true. That was me when I was in school, I mean, if I could go back to school now as an adult with my adult brain, I would pay more attention in a lot of the lessons which I didn't care about. History, maths, I taught myself English, so I probably would go back and learn more, but, what's the other ones? Oh, media. Loved media as a kid, but I didn't pay much attention in it because I was getting distracted by my friends. I don't think Well, it'd be depending on what the schools would choose, but I don't reckon it would be any good putting it as a compulsory subject. But in year 9 in this country, I think it's year 9, it's year 9 for me, you get to choose your options, your subjects. What do you want to learn? And that's where you can broaden it a little bit. Because some schools now do hair and beauty. Hair and beauty in this country is really reserved for the foreign people that do their fronts. You know, they make a business doing hair and beauty and restaurants and things like that to hide their illegal goings on in the background. But I think you could do this as an option. You know, you've got cooking, that's in schools. That is a very essential part of life, cooking. An essential part of life is mechanics. And if the children choose this as their option, it would mean that they're somewhat interested in it. So not only may it spark a bit of an interest in the hobby, which would boost sales of nitro cars even more, so it would be beneficial for the hobby, but it would be massively beneficial for society, for the generations, and for those particular children learning this. Because, as I've said before, for those of you that may have stumbled across this video, this is literally a miniature real full-size car, if you know what I mean. It's a scale version. You've got front and rear diffs, as you would in a four-wheel drive car. You've got drive shafts, you've got geometry, you've got brake discs, you've got clutches, you've got a real engine with a piston, a liner, a crankshaft, a carburettor, a fuel system. You've got electrics, you've got a receiver which receives a signal from a transmitter, and you've got batteries, so you can learn about batteries, chemistry in batteries, etc, etc. Radio waves you can learn about. You can learn about how the engine works, and you can very easily take this engine apart on a little bench and get it back together again. And you don't even have to put them back in the car. There can be, I've got this all worked out in my head. I've got the whole classroom planned out in my head, how the classroom would be laid out. You'd have the cars, but then you'd have, the teacher, right, when they plan out their lessons, they could pre-dismantle some engines. This is when we getting into the lessons, they've already learned about the basics and stuff. There can be pre-dismantled engines, and they could have a fault in them. Yeah, the teacher would make a fault on purpose on some of the engines, and the children would have to then put the engines together and work out what is wrong with it. Yeah, diagnosis, problem solving. A lot of life is problem solving. It doesn't matter what you do in your life, what you do in general, but what you do as a work, a job, or whatever. It involves problem solving. Just being alive involves problem solving. And doing something, whether it's as a hobby or if you're learning it in school, this can help you problem solve. So it's not necessarily just about mechanics either. These can teach life skills as well. They'd have to problem solve what's wrong with the engine. Maybe some of them, maybe the teacher would tell them there's a problem, or the teacher would just say, okay, there's some engines, they've been dismantled, put them together, and there would be jigs on the benches, yeah? Either made of metal or wood, jigs. Then the blocks would be, the children would have to bolt the block to the jig, and then they can use that, it's like an engine stand, to fire it up. So they wouldn't have to put them in the car necessarily. They could fire it up. But some of them, they might not start. And they've got to go, why? Why isn't it starting? The teacher would go. And the children would have to work out why. What is the problem? Maybe the teacher would simply just detune the carburettor a lot so it won't start. Children can learn methods of how to get an engine running, no matter what. They'd learn about compression, all the little tips, all the little tricks that you can do to get an engine running, which most people will probably think the engine's had it, but you can get it running. there's so many life skills that a simple little nitro car like this can teach children. Can teach anybody, but teach children. Not only that, you know, it might spark a whole career for a successful life, you know. Children might go on to be real mechanics on people's cars, might own their own business, or they might go on to be F1 mechanics. They might go on to be, it might spur something else. They might go on to be a fighter jet mechanic. They might go on to be an aeroplane mechanic. They might go on to do something else. You know, this little car can teach so much. It's got so much value in it. People don't realise it. They underestimate this, and a lot of people just go, "Oh, it's just a toy. It's just, it's just a toy," and half the time they don't even work. The reason why they don't work is because the people who are trying to get them to work don't know what they're doing. So, yeah, I'm in the process of it. It might amount to nothing, but I think it'll be a win-win all around, because one, the manufacturers of these cars will see a great boost in sales because schools will be buying them up. Maybe it might spark interest in the children as a hobby, so they might go home and they buy some nitro cars. You know, their parents might buy them nitro cars for Christmas, or they might just want them. They'll get into the hobby as well. That means that sales will go up. The companies, HPI, Kyosho and all them, will see that and they'll start making good models again and start having fun like they did before. A couple of the models that I'm really looking for. Kyosho, back in the 80s and 90s, they done a YZ250 replica. If I can find a picture of one, I'll put one up on the screen so you can have a look at it. Nitro motorbike, YZ250. I've always wanted one. I've never managed to find one in this country or in Japan. I do look in Japan quite often. That's in good condition. I found a few that are taken apart and they're stupid money, like £600. Ridiculous. But if I can find a good one of them, they had good fun making that. And the other one, which they made in the 90s, was a quad bike. It was an actual quad bike. It wasn't a car with a quad bike shell on it, like HPI. Where is it? Oh, it's over there. HPI done a quad bike shell for their Savage. No, Kyosho made an actual quad bike. The chassis was in the shape of a quad bike, with a quad bike shell, with a little man. It was a quad runner. That was the name of it, the quad runner. I wanted one as a kid. I never got one because they're brand new when I was a kid. You know, they'd just come out. They were very expensive. We couldn't afford stuff like that. And I wanted one as an adult, but trying to find one is ridiculous, and trying to find one in good condition, even more ridiculous. But back to the point, I just think it'll be a win-win all around, you know. It'll be a good thing for us, and it'll be a good thing for schools. They'll have something interesting to teach the children, as I've already explained, going over myself again now. But they'll be learning something really useful for their life skills, problem solving and all that stuff, plus the skill of learning how mechanics work, you know. They'll learn, it's not just how it works what they can learn, you know. They can also learn that if you get a screw, which is rounded off on the top, they can learn how to get it out, you know, by either cutting the top of it off and then undoing it, or by applying some heat to it to try and free up the threads, or by cutting a slit in it to put a flathead screwdriver in. They can learn a lot of useful things that might come in handy, or definitely will come in handy, when they're an adult. Even just being alive and having your own home, you'll do little maintenance things around your home. Door hinges, the screws might strip out, round off on one of the door hinges if you needed to do something on your doors or something. You know, they learned and in school. Oh, I know, I learned in school how to get a bolt off that's rounded off. Oh, it's easy. You know, there's so much stuff that they don't teach in school. This will fill in some of the gap. You'd learn how to. Oh, there's just so much. I mean, the schools for when the children that really want to learn it, right? They've chosen it as an option. So the basic thing was they'd just get a load of nitro cars, teach the children about engines, about blah blah blah. There will be some children that are like, oh, this is all right, but there'll be some that really like it and they love it and they want to do more. For those children, they could then go and buy some kits. Yep. There's plenty of good nitro kits out there. Wheelspin Models and probably some other shops at the moment, they've stocking the Team Associated RC10 kit, the new version and the buggy version as well. Truggy and buggy versions. Brand new version to honour the old ones from the 90s, 1993. Brand new version, brand new kits, and you put them together because it's a kit. So for the children that really want to learn it, whether it be that the parents have to pay towards the kit or whether it's just supplied, I don't know, but that's to be worked out that's to be worked out. But they'd get the kit and they'd have to build it from scratch, put the kit together, learn everything, and that can be part of their GCSE or whatever it is they call it. The fully working kit will be the work. That will be the work, that they present and say, look, I put this together and it works. And the teacher will mark it, that, yeah, that's put together well, everything's done right. You've learned everything you've put in here, the thread locks in the right places, you've used the right oils, the right greases, There's so much. I can't even, if I was to tell you everything that I've got planned out in my head, the way that it would all be, the video would be 6 hours long, honestly. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing. I've done a lot to try and help Nitro as a hobby, because everyone's going over to electric, which is incredibly boring. We don't want to see Nitro dying. But I also don't want to see the generation. I don't want to see humanity go down even more further than it already is. We're already in a stage where no one wants to do anything. Nobody cares about anything. All these AI stuff, these smart speakers that turn your lights on and off. You got to do nothing. And the trouble is, the big companies, they want people to do nothing, because when they bring a product out, because humans are naturally lazy, and if there's something that means they haven't got to do something, they'll take it. It's a human way, And they just spend money, just throw money at stuff so that means they haven't got to do anything. Even just flicking a light switch is too much effort for some people. Even putting a key in a door and unlocking it is too much effort for some people, There's locks out there now that you have like something on your phone or whatever, and when it senses you're getting close to it, it unlocks your front door for you. So you ain't even got to unlock it. You just walk through. What's wrong with a key? Don't know, but I'm going to try and just test the water, see how it goes. As I say, I've already fired an email across to one local senior school, see what they think. I'm going to fire identical, or maybe I might change the emails a bit to see which email works best, to some other schools in the area to see what they think about the idea. There is a school, it's not really near where I live, it's a bit further out, but I know that they teach mechanics. It's a senior school, but they do teach mechanics. They get old scrap real cars in, like old Corsas and Fiestas and stuff, get them in, and they get the kids to literally take the engine out and they dismantle the whole engine, learn all about the bits and bobs inside it, and then they have to put it back together again and stick it in the car and see if it runs. Or maybe if it's got a problem, they repair the problem, head gasket for example, or something like that. Piston rings might be worn, they put new rings in. And I'll fire an email over to them as well, see if, well, they already do the real cars, so it might be, but there might still be a bit in there for them as well, because there might be children that don't want to get involved in real cars, but a little mini car they can learn stuff about might pique their interest a bit more, and they'd still get to learn the life skills of problem solving and patience, and they'd also learn about cars and engines as well. So I don't know, but yeah, that's what I'm up to at the moment. And I can only do what I can do. I can try. It might have already been tried. I don't know. I did do a little bit of research on the internet, surfing the net, on the internet sort of thing, on the interweb, and I couldn't find anything about Nitro or glow engines being taught or being proposed to be taught or whatever in any school in England. In fact, any school at all. So, don't know. But yeah, I do want to hear your comments. And as I say, if you're in a school industry, or maybe you're a teacher that teaches English or something else, but you're in a school, is it easy to get a lesson? Like is it easy to get it in the curriculum? Don't know. Let me know. I should imagine it's probably not. It's probably many hoops that have to be hurdled, and the head teacher will have to be on board with it, obviously, fully. Otherwise they're not going to want to endorse it, are they? Plus a budget for buying all the cars and the tools, and the teacher that's going to have to know how to teach it. I know that, but I think it'll be worth it. But yeah, I'm going to button this up so I don't lose all the bits and bobs. I'll have to go down and shop at some point, and we haven't got any. See, that's another thing. My local model shop, which was Active Scowl, even that was an hour away. That's closed now. That's gone. Didn't sell enough. Even they phased out, you know. So I've not got a local RC shop anymore, model shop. I haven't got one. There's train shops that sell model trains and Hornbys and stuff like that, but I haven't got a local one. The next closest one is about an hour and a half, 2 hours away. All the way in bloody Surrey somewhere. That's no good to me. Oh no, wait, I think there's Redfin models. I've got Redfin models. That's probably about an hour away, actually. Yeah, so that's about the same as Active Scale was, but just in a different direction. Yeah, I could go to Redfin. Anyway, most of the stuff, though, that I'm going to have to buy is going to have to be over the internet now. So, I'll have to get a new hunt pack for this, but I'm not going to do it just yet. I know a lot of you probably saying, blah, 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 but not going to do it just yet. And, you know what? Oh, this is just so much. Look, not only would they might possibly learn about nitro engines and cars, but they can learn about boats. They could do planes. They could do nitro planes as well. Helicopters. They could learn about how a helicopter works. Obviously, a teacher would have to know about it all as well. I know it's a minefield of problems probably to get it off the ground. Yeah. See what I've done there? No, honestly though, it probably is a minefield of problems to get a lesson like that. You'd have to have a teacher that knows all about it. Whether the teacher would, I don't know. Would a teacher which is already in the school but has a bit of knowledge about the subject, which being nitro engines and nitro, be able to teach it? Or would they have to go to college and get a degree in that subject before they'd be allowed to teach it? I don't know. Probably not, because when I was a kid, I remember sometimes the English teacher would cover the music teacher. And she didn't have a clue about music. You could tell that. In fact, she said a few times, I don't know anything about music. And she was covering the lesson for a few weeks while the music teacher was on maternity leave. I can remember that as clear as day. But that's just covering though, isn't it? I don't know how it works. I really don't. I know schools are very particular. But yeah. There we go. I'll catch you a lot later on. I'm going to go indoors now. I'm going to watch I'm a Celebrity. In England, in this country, right? It's like a tradition. You watch Britain's Got Talent when that's on. Even though it's crap now. It's full of foreigners. It's not Britain's Got Talent anymore. It's Foreigners Have Got Talent. And it's more of an advertisement now, Britain's Got Talent. Less of the person's got talent. It's more of pushing advertising. But anyway, tradition, you watch that. And we watch I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Every year. You can't not watch it. Yeah. 25 years now that's been on. And we watch it every year. So I'm not going to miss it. Ever. We've never missed it. Never missed an episode. Never missed any of it. I know you can watch it on, what's it called now? ITV Player Zone or whatever it is. but it's not the same because it's live in Australia. It's live. When you're watching something live, not live, because it's a recording of it, it don't have the same effect, does it? So, poof, 9 o'clock, we're there, on the settee, watching it. And I'm going to go because it's getting on for that time now. So I'm out of here. I'm going to quickly button up this bench and we'll be out of here. But yeah, the camera was sitting there and I thought, right, let's have a little quick chat with you lot. So yeah, as I've already said, oh, by the way, oh, how can I forget? We are over 10,000 subscribers now. 10,000 and... Where's the pocket computer? Where's the pocket computer? Oh, there it is. Right, the pocket computer says... Hold on. Hold on. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Hold on. Where are we? 10,029 subscribers. 10,029 subscribers. Yeah. So thanks a lot, you lot. Appreciate all of that. I wonder if I can see how many of you are subscribed and how many of you aren't. Can we get to that? Audience. Let's have a look here then. How can we see? Hold on. Bear with me a minute. Ah. Subscribed. Oh yeah, look. So that tells me how many of you are subscribed and how many of you aren't. So we've got 52.4% subscribed and 47.6% of you ain't subscribed. So more of you are than you aren't. Great! Nice one, you lot. What will I have to do to get the other 47.6%? So if you ain't subscribed to me, put in the comments, what is it I'll have to do to get you to put in a subscription, you know? Because I'm starting to take this a bit more serious now, right? I can do things. I can do wonders, yeah, for Nitro, right? I'm taking it under my wing, and Nitro RC is going to be #1 again, like it once was in the 90s, 80s and 90s. It's going to be #1 again. So, we'll be there. And I need a bit of clout, do you know what I mean? Nobody takes a little person seriously. I've got to get some clout. So, with your support and with you lot on board, we'll all do it together. All of us will all do it. And if we can get this in schools, being taught, that will be a massive slice of the cake. That will be. That will be. Yep. Anyway, thanks again, you lot. And also members. We can't forget the channel members. I don't mention channel members anywhere near as often as I should do. 48 of you. Thank you very much for being here. If you want to become a channel member, by the way, just press on the little join button underneath next to the subscribe button. Subscribe and then join. And you can help me out as well massively. You know, to be able to keep buying these old cars to get running again, because that's what I specialise in, get the old cars running again. Don't want to see them go to landfill, do you know what I mean? We'll get them running again, put them back out into circulation so someone can go and enjoy them. Yeah. Right, I can't stop talking because I'm going to be out of here. So I was going to say something else, but probably started saying it, but then went off on a tangent and I can't think what I was going to say. But yeah, I'll catch you lot on the next one. Remember to love life, because that's what we're here to do. There's no other thing. There's no other option. All right. There's always a silver lining. I know some people. Right, stop going on. But I know some people probably don't have the best of times all the time. All right. But it ain't a bad life. It's just a bad day. Remember that. I'll see you later. All the best. Take care. Maybe you want to become a teacher in the future. Yeah, maybe you do. If you want to become a teacher, teach Nitro. Cheerio.